Hey, everybody, you're back with Dave and Ed. This is episode 6 of To the Death podcast.
Today, our guest is a long-lost training partner of mine, Dennis Ortega. We started together at Yanni's from white belt to purple, and we go through his origin story.
Now, you say long lost, but I say ran away from you.
Well, I quit first, and then he left, so we kind of got Yanni good.
He left to get away from you, though. You're not mentioning that part.
No,
You'll hear about it in the interview.
Well, anyways, Dennis lives currently in Washington, D.C., so this was done through the interweb. Also, Yanni was present for this, so you'll hear him chime in from time to time.
I was not happy with Yanni's participation in this episode. Beforehand, we had him sign a release that stated he would only say 5 words. Those were the only options he had: yes, no, Dave, Ed, or Dennis, and he violated the contract.
He did violate it, and he will be punished. And we talk about how Dave is half the training partner Dennis was, and I have to work extra hard to get more out of him.
You'll also hear how Yanni really feels about Ed's technique, and you'll hear Dennis side with me on most things.
That's absolutely false, as usual.
100% true.
That's enough. Dave's always wrong, I'm always right. This episode is special because we have new music from our guest,
Dennis Ortega.
So let us know what you think about that. Dave, you have anything else to say?
Yeah, it's not that good, but you guys can make that decision on your own.
All right, we'll talk about it after they hear it.
Also, take my advice given towards the end of this podcast. If you're given a great opportunity, jump on it. Everyone else in the room besides me was wrong. You'll hear it yourself in a few.
It's always Dave against the world. Hope you guys enjoy it. This is To the Death podcast.
Now, Dennis, Ed is insisting that he wasn't always fat, but I find it very hard to believe. Since I've known him, he's been fat. The lowest he got was like 190.
180 last year.
No, not 180. Maybe 187. Maybe there was an 80 in there, but it ended with a high number. Have you ever seen him thin?
Yeah, definitely. I think when we were probably like white or blue belts.
Give me years.
White and blue belts. I was skinny.
Wait, I want years.
I would
Stop
probably say
interrupting.
like 2009 and 2010, Ed was in shape.
So for 10 years, he's been out of shape.
I think I remember Ed having abs.
There you go.
Abs.
I had him for about 3 months in 2010.
I believe I remember Ed having abs.
Dennis, remember you did that tournament? We did it. We just got our blue belts, and you tapped like 3 guys in the Nogi division.
Yeah.
That tournament, I was 159.
Was that tournament in Jersey City?
That's right.
No, that was in... Where was that tournament?
No.
That was in Naga? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Morristown.
That was Morristown.
All right, well, let me just tell people that don't know. Everybody at your school never met Dennis. Me and Dennis he was my main training partner from white through purple. Me and him, we drilled every class. We used to roll together. He was my
purple and a
one.
half, and then you disappeared.
I disappeared, yeah.
That's what he does. He does that best.
No, I disappeared because I got in the fire department. I was trying not to get hurt, so I took a little break. It was like a year. It wasn't full 2 years where I didn't train at all. It was like I would show up maybe a class or two and then take a month, show up a class or two. Just enough so people still remembered me.
So would you like to see Ed win or get crushed?
I don't really care. I just want to see the match.
You definitely want to see him get crushed. So can I fly you in to help me prep?
No, he doesn't.
I have no dog in this race. Here's what I will say, though. Make sure that there is a point system because submitting Ed is near impossible.
I know, it's ridiculous. He'll just clam up and you can't move him. You can dominate him positionally, but there's no way you'll ever tap him.
Dennis, let me just say to you, Dave's playing a very sneaky game here. Behind closed doors, Dave has told me that he has a secret move that's super cheap that he doesn't use in live training that he's going to pull out especially for me.
Ding, ding, ding.
Is it a heel hook?
No, there's no heel hooks in the gi.
We're not getting on this topic right now.
Oh, this is IBJJF.
Wait a second. Now you don't want to talk about this. You wanted to bring up the super fight, but you don't want to bring up the heel hooks. Why can't we ever be on the same page? We're like a married
I have
couple.
very strong opinions on the...
I do. You don't like heel hooks in the gi, do you?
I'm the one who's fighting for
hate
it.
heel hooks in the gi.
Oh, you hate heel hooks in the gi?
He hates them. Yes, I knew this already about him. Just in the gi.
I don't think they belong in the gi. I don't think they belong in IBJJF.
No, that's where
there
we're
was
gonna
another
disagree.
organization that wanted to do them in the gi, like I would. But it's a long-standing tradition that we don't do heel hooks in IBJJF.
Well, my stance on this, Dennis, is that it doesn't go into all gi tournaments. I'm saying we make a special set of rules where my 1 hook, 2 points on the back goes into effect, as well as the crucifix is 1 point.
Those two I agree with, but the heel hooks and the gi is a no-no. But I do think IBJJF should have heel hooks, no gi.
I would agree with that. No gi, I could definitely see it. I don't see why it's necessary.
How about for this super
gi.
fight? What should it be? What should the rules be?
No heel hooks. I can heel hook you. You can't heel hook me.
Whatever.
Perfect.
I would never try to do that because I'm not an idiot. I'm honorable. I could get to
I
your
think
back
if
and
you
choke
guys are you're subscribing to a certain set of rules, you should follow those rules. So if you're doing ADCC rules, you follow those rules. If you're doing IBJJF, you follow that.
I think we should do a special set where we talked about points for submissions and we just keep going. Because after I tap Dave like 45 seconds in, it might be anticlimactic. So maybe we just, make that 10 points and then we go again. And then something stupid like Dave getting me in like a footlock is 10 points and then we could just keep rolling. So it's not a stupid way to end the match.
I did have somebody message me and tell me that the easiest way to submit Ed is with footlocks.
I'd like Yanni to step in here for a second and just, what do you think about that? Do you think he could footlock me in this super fight?
You're kind of fat right now. If I knock you over, you might not be able to get up and
Just
put weight on that foot.
Let the sensei answer.
Wait, you told me he wasn't going to be talking. That's the only reason I agreed to allow him in the room.
I said that I would jump in and have him for specific instances.
It's
Yanni?
yes, no, Ed, Dennis, or Dave.
Okay.
That's it.
Fine. Yes or no? Do you think Dave can footlock me in the super fight?
Yes.
I would say yes, honestly.
What?
Oh, this is for Yanni.
Dennis, what do you think? You think I could be footlocked by Dave? He's not a footlock specialist.
I actually am very good at footlocks.
Dave, have we ever rolled?
Yeah, but I think you were a blue belt at the time, and I was probably blue at the same time.
Dennis, what do you think about the submissions get points, or should the submission just finish the match?
I mean, I don't know. That's up to you guys.
I'm saying as a spectator.
I honestly, here's the thing. I don't understand why you guys are having this crazy grudge match to begin with.
It's just something that came up on the podcast, and it's fun.
I think that if you were to set this, submissions equals points rule, it's going to look very silly if it goes the distance and it only comes down to points.
That's true. But I will definitely submit Dave. Just know that. Like, Dennis, when we were training together, you were a great partner because me and you were basically even and we pushed ourselves higher and higher.
Almost through our entire career.
Exactly. So now I am working with a diminished partner who I can beat up very easily. So I have to act like Yanni acted with us and kind of like I have to really force myself to not cheat and, really focus on myself doing the moves right because he's not going to push me that far.
Listen, I'm not going to deny I think that Ed might be a little better than me, but that does not put everything in his favor. I have ways that I can tap him. I have things that I do well, and I know where his shortcomings are. Competition is totally different than just overall jiu-jitsu knowledge.
Dave, if I was your coach,
tell me.
I would say work on your points game because
there's no submitting Ed, I know.
Of all of the most frustrating people I've ever rolled with in my life, Ed is probably number one.
Listen, I came close to tapping him in 2019 because I had him in a crucifix and I was working on that arm, but I couldn't get it. I was so close, and then I took the back instead, and you know how that goes.
From day one, Ed, I've always kind of been like really into the whole community of jiu-jitsu, and Ed just wants to go in, beat the crap out of people, and then get out.
Well, Dennis, it's been a long time since we've been training together, and I have matured greatly because I now see it more on your perspective. That's why we're doing this podcast, is to bring community together all over the globe.
Okay.
You don't believe me?
So
no, I don't.
Dennis,
I honestly believe you still just want to get on the mat, beat the crap out of somebody, go home.
No,
and the only reason this podcast is happening is because you can't leave your house and beat the crap out of somebody.
The thing, if you got to pick one thing that Ed does the best, or likes the most rather, is sitting on the side, pointing and laughing. So that's basically what this podcast is. It's him sitting on the side, pointing and laughing.
That's fair.
Dennis, you would love coming to Dave's gym because it's kind of like a flashback to when we were training in 2008, 2009. It's all white belts on the mat, maybe a couple colored belts, and it's just so fun looking at them and seeing myself and all the mistakes they make.
You're welcome to visit anytime.
Yeah, like Dave's brother trains.
You're supposed to be encouraging. You're supposed to.
This is why Yanni will never give him a black belt.
Future.
I am molding him. Ask your brother. Dave's brother loves when I talk crap about him. I call him Peter Pan because he wears these tight green pants and he's got a little boy body and he loves it.
His tights are black.
In my mind, they're green and he's got a feathered cap on when he rolls.
He might have a feathered cap on when he rolls.
Yeah, but Ed once wore a tight, skin-tight green man suit to Nogi training one
Do
time.
you have a picture of this?
No, I don't think anybody took a picture of it.
No, we had a picture somewhere. Like, this is Green Mat days.
That's because I got that from
This is way back.
Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Charlie Day was Green Man, so that's why I wanted to wear the Green Man suit.
We need this picture.
Ed said something like, I bet I could still submit you in the Green Man suit. And I was like, there's no way in hell you would catch me in that stupid suit.
You know, now that I think about it, I remember one detail is the reason Ed was wearing the Green Man suit is because he was obsessed with training blindfolded, as if that was...
I thought I was going to unlock
Right.
some kind of special BJJ achievement if I did that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we just talked about this the other day. I can't believe that he enjoyed doing that.
I think it was...
He actually did submit me. I think he did submit me.
That's because I really wanted it, so I went as hard as I could.
So if you guys were to roll together now, would you be able to submit him?
Submit? I don't know.
Dominate him positionally.
Ed is still I'm telling you, still to this day, I've never had so much trouble trying to armbar one human.
Yeah.
That's still my strong
Ed
suit.
just has this armbar defense that is just unstoppable. And my game is like, I like sweeping, I like passing, and then I like going into armbar position. You're just not going to armbar.
All right, Dennis, I wanted to get into your whole backstory. And the good thing about this is I've been basically a part of the whole thing in the beginning, which is great.
Pretty much.
So how did you get into jiu-jitsu?
And how old were you when you started?
I was 21 when I started.
That's a good age. Pretty young.
I was in a band that got signed to a major record label, and eventually that stopped. I was about 21, so from like 18 to 21, I was on the road basically.
Warped Tour, baby.
Exactly. And 2001, the band broke up, and I was just working. I was dating this girl, and I was working in Blockbuster. She was a teacher, so she would have to. I didn't drive at the time. She would drop me off at Blockbuster way before it opened because I would open the store. Because it was so early, I would sit there and watch UFC DVDs.
And what year did you say this was?
This was 2008. Now, remember, Yanni's been my friend since I was like 13 years old. I've known Yanni way before I ever started training. Yanni saw the whole thing from the band, and then up until the point of me starting training, obviously he guided me there.
But how come you didn't do it earlier if you knew him so long?
Because of music. Music was like my main priority. Also, for a long time, I thought Yanni was just doing Taekwondo. I just kind of assumed he was.
And you thought kicks in the air was stupid?
I just didn't. It just wasn't something that interested me. You know, like, again, my main focus was just music. So like, my friend Yanni was this like karate guy. You know, that's what we thought.
Did you call him Grandmaster Sensei?
I think I was like a brown belt when I started calling him Professor.
See?
No, Dennis is wrong. I don't care. Why were you calling him Professor?
Respect.
Actually, I think Dennis was the first person to start calling me Professor. I think he'd start doing that right away when I got my black belt.
But you never, did you
Was
ever
it when
ask?
yeah, maybe it was when you got your
It was
black.
kind of like,
That's a long time ago, 10 years ago.
But yeah, so I was watching these UFC DVDs before work, like 2 hours before I had to open the store, and then like I would go back and talk to Yanni. Actually, Yanni took me to Andy Main's house once to go watch the fights. I really didn't get like, you know, maybe this is something I could do until I started watching those
Dennis,
UFC DVDs.
Did you play sports when you were younger?
I played baseball and hockey, but baseball I dropped very quickly once I started like having girlfriends and playing guitar. And I did win 2 state championships.
Oh, so you played sports. That's good.
Yeah, but that you know, when I was 16, that immediately just went out the window for music.
All right, Dennis, let's go to 2008 when you started. First, tell me about your first day in class.
Actually, let's start before that. Remember, I was like obsessed with the UFC DVDs at this point. We were hanging out in Yanni's basement. It was me, Yanni, and our friend Adam. And we were just talking. And I think I was like telling Yanni that I kind of figured out how to do a rear naked choke. And I don't know how we started getting into it. Yanni was like, I bet I could get out of a choke if you put me in it. I'll let you put everything in, sink it in, and there's no way you would be able to finish. We kind of moved all this stuff on the floor in his basement. I sunk in the rear naked choke, and Yanni tried to escape, and Yanni went to sleep.
no,
Scared the crap out of
I
me.
did escape the first one. I let him do it a second time.
Did you have hooks?
So I was really obsessed with BJ Penn even before I started training. It just happened to be like those UFC DVDs that I was watching. So BJ was taking everybody's back and choking them, and I kind of like figured out, oh, I need hooks. And
Did you freak out when you put Yanni to sleep?
I was scared, man. I thought he was kidding at first.
How did
Like,
you
at
know?
first, he started snoring.
Okay.
Me and my friend Adam were looking at each other like, no. And then Yanni kind of snapped out of it. But my first class, I show up, and Yanni's school is still pretty new at this point. I think it was only open for a few months, like maybe 6 months. And it was these 2 guys named Ryan. They were both training in like sweatpants and tap-out shirts. I was wearing this like big giant gi. I was really heavy at the time too. I was like 240 pounds.
All muscle, right?
All muscle, baby.
Holy
5'7",
cow.
240.
5'7", 240. Take that in, Dave.
Holy cow.
So that first class, those two guys were getting ready for this amateur MMA fight. And this is my first class. And, we got through the warm-ups. It was really tough because I was obviously really overweight. And Yanni puts me with the bigger of the Ryans, the one that was just getting ready for his MMA fight. And we're doing close guard drills. And this dude, to get out of my close guard, is like picking me up, slamming me, like 50% elbows to try to open my guard and jamming his elbow in my throat. And I was like, oh, man, this is horrible.
And now he's slamming you on those old green mats, right?
On the old green, those old judo mats.
No, I think that those were meant just for stand-up. They were only like a half inch or 1 inch thick.
Something like that, yeah. Those weren't judo mats?
No, they were, but I think they were just thinner.
Those things used to tear your feet up just doing warm-ups and rolls.
Yeah, it was a learning curve to roll on those things.
But that was my first class. I just got beat up by this juiced out amateur MMA fighter, and Yanni let the whole thing happen.
Yeah, what do you have to say about this? Why would you let them do that to him?
Dave or Dennis?
It's called trial by fire.
He wanted to get you back because you choked him unconscious. He's like, all right, he's going to choke me out.
You might be right. I never thought about it that way.
It's revenge.
That might be the reason.
And then I rolled with him.
I always wondered why Yanni did that to me.
Then I rolled with him and beat him, and I had to show Dennis that I'm still better at jiu-jitsu than him, even though.
So how long were you a white belt for before your professor decided to promote you?
I was a white belt for 2.5 years, I think.
And did you lose any weight while training?
Yeah, so that first month, I think I lost 20 pounds just the first month. And really, that's what kind of kept me going. I can't say that I really enjoyed it too much at the beginning. I remember thinking, I don't think I was ever going to submit anybody. Like, I had been training for like 2 months and hadn't subbed anyone. But I was losing so much weight that I was like, dude, I'm just going to keep doing this because the weight loss is amazing.
Yeah,
Now,
Dennis was actually going to kickboxing, too, at that time.
Yeah, so I started because I kind of wanted to fight MMA.
That's how we all started. I thought I was going to be Chuck Liddell.
I remember Dennis loving Andrei Arlovsky.
So I have a question. How the heck did you get so fat? If you were touring and doing music, and didn't girls come into your head at all? Didn't you want to kind of stay fit or at least somewhat in shape?
While I was on tour, like I wasn't that overweight. The biggest thing was when I stopped touring. I wouldn't say I was depressed, but I didn't really know what I was gonna do. So I was working at Blockbuster, like this crap job.
Did you ever play World of Warcraft?
Yeah, I did play a lot of WoW.
Did that have anything to do with it?
A lot of WoW. That definitely didn't help.
I don't even know what the heck you guys are talking about right now.
I played a lot of video games. I still play a lot of video games.
So let's go back to 2008. So to paint a picture, Dennis was a white belt for a while because we were all white belts. I mean, basically the room was 10 white belts and blue belt Jeff, and we would go to war every day, no time limits. And that's how life was for probably a year or two.
Yeah, 2 years at least. I mean, we'd be excited. Me and Yanni would literally be talking about how big the class was if 8 to 10 people showed.
So did you get your blue belt with Ed?
Me and Ed got our blue belt the same day.
Being Yanni's friend, did it hurt your feelings at all that he wrapped the belt around Ed's fat waist first?
Not really, because Ed was like, after Jeff stopped training, Jeff was Yanni's only blue belt. Ed was kind of like the tough guy.
Tough guy? What's that supposed to mean?
He became the enforcer?
Yeah, Ed was kind of the enforcer, but I also thought of it as like Yanni was saving the best for last.
I don't even remember the order of it.
I feel like Rich DiCarlo might have been one of the last guys to get it, or Anthony.
It might have been Anthony, because I was
Greg, maybe? Oh, no, Greg didn't get his blue belt with us.
I actually have a feeling that if Ed didn't get his belt first, he probably would have quit right then.
That's not true.
You're a sore loser. It's definitely true.
That's not a competition to get your belt
Dennis
first.
answer the question. He knows.
I feel like Ed would definitely have read into it deeper than me. It didn't
This is ridiculous.
It's because
register that somebody got it before me.
Ed's,
I felt like we all just got it at the same time.
Ed's weaker mentally. That's why, though.
It might be true.
Hold on. Can we take a break here? First of all, I was a 21-year-old kid when I got the blue belt, so I was pretty immature, wouldn't you say? Dennis?
You were quiet. I immature. I think you're reading into this. Like
I didn't
Yanni's
ask you the
only one
question.
person,
He asked
right?
you the
Like,
question. I didn't ask this question.
I just like the answer. That's all.
He can only hand out one at a time, right?
Exactly. What's he supposed to do?
And he picked Ed first because Ed would have quit
But
otherwise.
Ed was definitely the enforcer of the gym.
Yanni, what do you think about that? What does that mean to you, enforcer?
Enforcer is the guy that has to beat up on the guys that are being too aggressive with like the lower belts or the girls in the class.
Wasn't that Ed, though? Ed told a story about how he used to beat up the blue belt girls, and he was just a meathead kid trying to choke the women.
That was when I was a white belt. Yanni didn't have any girls here for me to beat up on. So what
That's true. We
Oh
got
yeah,
the
I
girls.
was okay. So this was when you were training somewhere else.
Yeah. So
I was
when
gonna say we didn't have any girls for a long time.
no, Dennis, you remember when Dwayne and all them came over from Bloomingdale?
Yeah, it was the best day I think up top ever had. Like as far as morale, man, we were so stoked.
Yeah. So that was
Just to
like
have all this new blood in there, man.
it was great. So when we all got our blue belts, it was like a turning point. We were in the white belt days. For
I would
years.
agree with that. I would definitely agree.
Right.
with
So
that.
at the same time, all these blue belts and that one purple belt came, and we're like, all right. So now, in my mind, I don't know how you felt, Dennis. You could tell me after, but I wanted to prove that Yanni, gave these belts and we were deserving, and we weren't going to let these guys come into our school and kind of ragdoll us. So I did go a little extra hard back then. And Dwayne even said something to me, like, years down the line that, he used to not like rolling me because I would go like it was the world's every time.
I felt like we definitely had something to prove as Yanni students, but I'm lazy, dude. Like going hard for me, there's got to be a little more motivation to get me to go hard. I think I really didn't grasp the idea of going super hard until like we started competing as like the up top team.
We started competing pretty soon after we got our blue belts. Probably like 3-4 months. That tournament we were talking about happened.
Yeah, 3 or 4 months. I think I had one stripe on my blue belt.
Now, I don't remember the competition that it was, but I do remember it might have been the first time that I met you. We were at a competition, but I remember you not being like a physical specimen. People in your division were kind of doubting you, and they were like, kind of like shrugging you off. But I remember you running through people at that competition, and I was just like shocked. Not because of your result, because I know coming from Yanni, I was more shocked at how everyone was kind of treating you.
As in, like that they were afraid or that they weren't expecting.
They weren't expecting you to
Yeah,
be so
I mean,
dominant.
I'm also guilty of judging somebody by how they look. I've never been like crazy in shape, like a physical specimen, but
So you were never in as great of shape as Ed is now?
no. And I'm also weak. Like I'm not a very strong person. Like I never had that confidence that guys. There were maybe a few times where I competed and I felt confident going in, but almost every time I've always like, damn, look at these guys. I just want to get this over with and go home.
I feel the same exact way. All right, so let's go back to white belt. So a lot of stuff we've been talking about with Yanni and we talk about it with George is kind of the evolution of the techniques. So in the beginning at white belt, weren't you doing like kind of just the basic run-of-the-mill techniques that Yanni would show?
Yeah, I mean, my game was close the guard and hope the person couldn't get out. And then we did a lot of no-gi back then, or at least I would say a third of our training was no-gi.
And when do you think, like, because there was a time where your game kind of shifted to like, all right, I'm going to be working on all the newest techniques, and my game's going to be pretty dynamic and not basic, kind of like my game was the opposite. I was trying to do the basic half guard, very basic stuff. When do you think it kind of changed for you?
I think for me, it changed probably after I watched the first Worlds that I ever watched with Yanni. Everybody at that time when we started training was obsessed with Marcelo. But then we watched the Worlds, and that's the first time I was introduced to Carina instead of Marcelo.
What
and
year?
I was like, what is this trickery that this guy is doing?
What kind of stuff was he
And,
doing?
He was playing a lot of Spider, a lot of De La Hiva. I don't know why, like a short, stocky dude would gravitate towards that style, but it just did for me. And I think what really solidified that was that first time watching Worlds.
What year would you say that was?
That must have been 2009.
So pretty early in your jiu-jitsu career, you were already gravitating towards the more modern game.
Yeah. And then I was aware of that stuff at that point. Obviously, I couldn't do any of it yet. And then it wasn't until like 2010, my blue belt days, where I really started going from like a very basic closed guard, butterfly guard, to a lot of De La Hiva, a lot of spider guard.
So now being one of Yanni's students from those are pretty much the early days of when he was teaching jiu-jitsu here. When did he start teaching the more modern game?
I would say about that time, like 2010, after we all got our blue belts, I think we started becoming a little more, or he started becoming a little more aware of like a lot of other grapplers out there, and we started getting into the more modern game. And me and Yanni got pretty obsessed with like the competition scene, you know, the up and coming stuff. So I would say probably 2010 we saw a shift of technique.
So Dennis, how would you describe me as a training partner during our blue belt, purple belt days?
Oh, you were the best training partner that I had. Yeah.
Dave doesn't.
sure.
Dave thinks that's hilarious.
I will say this. As much as we like to tease Ed, it wasn't devastating to my game, but it was devastating for my psyche, I think, when Ed went to the fireman school training, whatever it is.
You could just say
And
fire department.
I kind of lost that like main training partner. And I wasn't like lost because I still had Yanni and Doyle and Longo were still coming through, but like Ed was the guy that I was always like coming up with. But that was purple belt. That wasn't for a while after, you know, we started to kind of evolve the school. I feel like there was a big evolution from when like the school switched to those blue mats and we became up top martial arts.
Yeah, me too. I feel like that was it, the shift. Like the end of 2011, the beginning of 2012. Then we had Guy Mendez come in, and I feel like that cemented like the
there
new
was
school.
definitely a big shift.
Well, Dennis, one of the things about you is you take the technique very seriously. Even back then, you know, you're trying to really focus on technique because, like you said, you weren't a physical specimen. You know, I mean, I might be stronger, but I'm not in good shape. So me and you kind of gravitated towards the technique more, and we still do because we're not going to rely on physical gifts.
Yeah, I mean, I needed an edge somewhere. So it kind of worked out that like, you know, I was weak and not that physical, but I did like the science, I guess, behind it.
So Dennis, you're going to be very happy to hear this. We haven't trained together, you know, regularly since what, 2014?
2014, yeah.
So since then, I have become much more open-minded, and that is the next step on my journey. Is this worm squid kind of series? What do you think about that?
So I don't know the squid at all, actually. You know, I think it's a great game for you to play because you have insane grip. So you grab a lapel, and I feel like no one's ever gonna get.
Dennis, this is one of my main problems is I don't have the creative confidence that you have. Like you are willing to put yourself out there and try to learn it on your own, really take charge of your own game. I'm more of a copycat kind of learner where if Yanni's not doing specifically in his game, I am not very likely to implement it in my game. So with the worm and squid, Yanni has kind of been pushing back on me a little bit. He's not really going to add it to his game like he's added all these leg locks and reverse Del Hiva and Kiss of the Dragon. Why can't you tell him to start taking this up so he can help me?
Wait a second. What? My help's not good enough?
No, you're useless technically.
The
You're basically
only way you've played with this is by coming to me.
Dave, you're basically like a human dummy for me to kind of just drill my moves on. You're not really giving any resistance back.
No, you're not supposed to give resistance while drilling.
Whatever. I want to hear what Dennis has to say, and I want him to help me convince our Grandmaster Sensei to really take this squid guard seriously so I can learn it.
If Yanni's not willing to adapt with the modern times, go to the places that are. Come see me, Ed. We'll do it every day if you want, all right?
I think I would have an easier time convincing Yanni to teach me than to get anything out of you teaching me.
This is now how I have to defeat you in our super fight.
Maybe this is what is holding you back from your black belt. Maybe you need to stick your neck out there and develop this yourself and learn it yourself.
And tap Yanni with the squid guard.
Yanni gave thumbs up.
That you are at the level where you can take something and evolve it yourself instead of being spoon-fed.
Dennis, that thought hurts me so badly because it's absolutely correct, and I would feel like I would earn the belt if I could do something like that, but I really don't want to do it. I feel like I'm gonna get caught in this jiu-jitsu quicksand where I kind of just end up stalling, like I just said. How am I gonna get out of this?
You lack confidence.
Well, you know what's funny is that I think you accepted this position of a leader at up top. I don't think you didn't want the role. You just fell into it, and you didn't really necessarily want it.
Well, Dennis,
but I think you have to own it.
Listen to me.
You have to own it. Get your black belt.
I was actually very comfortable when both of us were here, kind of carrying the leadership role together. But then you left me, so this is kind of your fault.
You left
This
first.
is turning into a therapy
Hold
session.
on. Yes, I did leave first, but guess who came back? Papa came back. All right.
That's
so
true, but
this is your fault. So you have to guide me through this, please.
Ooh.
I'm telling you exactly how to do it.
Okay,
You need to.
You're right, but you can help though,
you
right?
need to own it. You need to own it.
How about you?
And I think that's what Yanni's waiting for.
Listen,
You
this
know, you can't-
podcast is very important to me, and it has helped reconnect us because we haven't had a conversation even in years. I think you should be part of my jiu-jitsu life again, and you could even help me remotely because I'm going to send you the videos of me crushing Dave, and then maybe you could kind of dissect them for me.
I thought
and
I
help
was
me.
reffing. What?
No more biased refs.
He doesn't trust that you have honorable. You don't
Although
have integrity.
I did like that Dennis, he does shame you a bit, so maybe I can be convinced to allow him to ref. And he's going to help me with my camp.
No, he's not. Dennis, you
Your
will never help
best
him.
training partner is your biggest critic. I always say.
Perfect.
Dennis is picking out all the parts in Ed's psyche that are hidden and repressed.
So now, Dennis, I do want to say one positive thing about Ed, though, real quick. So since he's been coming up by me, mostly he's helping me. Let's just put that out there. He has been experimenting with worm guard, but as you heard in previous episodes, if he can't get the grip and put his foot or put his feet where they need to be right away and he gets past, he does get discouraged.
I don't understand. Like, you should be playing guard anyway. You should be playing guard before you set up the worm guard.
He only focuses
can't
on the
just-
one thing.
I got a one-track
You're
mind,
just
Dennis.
diving into worm guard. No,
Basically.
So, yeah, I mean that technique it's part of a process.
Well, Dennis,
right?
here's the
So-
thing. If I don't get too much resistance, if I roll with a white or blue belt, I can hit the worm guard perfectly. I hit all the moves right. As soon as I hit any kind of advanced belt resistance, I fall apart. Everything falls apart for me.
I mean, this is why you have to get it to click, man, on
So
your own.
How about you
without
come?
Yanni.
How about you come up here once in a while? Maybe get on the mat with me and show me a few tips. I'm willing to learn from you because we were partners.
But are you willing to fly him up here? You have to pay for his travel.
That's true. Again, Megabus is $20.
$20. That's it.
I think.
And then he has to stay at your house.
Each way is like $20.
I'll give you $100 to come up here. So Dennis, purple belt. I leave, and what happens to you? I really don't even know the full story of this or how it happened. So it would be interesting to hear you tell it.
I've been working in Manhattan since 2010. I'd commute in via bus from kind of upstate-ish New York. I would come back home, get in my car, drive to Wayne, New Jersey, and then go back home. This was every single night. And it took a toll on my car. It took a toll on me. I made the decision to, with Yanni's blessing, obviously, I talked about it with Yanni. I made the decision to start training at Shaolin's gym in Midtown Manhattan.
So if Yanni said no, what would you have done?
If Yanni said no, I probably would not have gone.
So this is Yanni's fault. Dennis, don't you think Yanni shows a pattern of this? This is why he still has not had a black belt in 13 years of being a gym owner?
I know.
He lets his guys off the hook too easy instead of holding their feet to the fire and making them do their due diligence. All right?
Yanni's too nice.
Too nice.
You know?
This was in 2014 you made this decision?
So, yeah, I was a two-stripe purple belt at the time. And so I go to Shaolin's, and this is probably where I actually, for the first time, start being more of a focused on competition than anything else. When I was with Yanni, I was much more into learning jiu-jitsu. And then when I got to Shaolin's, I didn't really feel like I needed, not that I didn't need to learn more jiu-jitsu, but I was kind of mainly focused on trying to be a better competitor at the time. Right off the get, like when I got there, I started doing morning classes, going to work, and then coming back for 2 night classes at Shaolin's.
That's some serious
So
training.
I went real hard. I started going really hard but it was because, like with Yanni, I didn't have that available to me. I couldn't drive in the morning, go train, and Yanni didn't really at the time have even more than just night classes. At this point, like jiu-jitsu, all this jiu-jitsu was available to me. Shaolin's was a few blocks away from my office in Manhattan. I went pretty hard.
So now you switch instructors, right? And you're a two-stripe purple.
I wouldn't say I switched instructors.
You switched instructors. If you,
I switched
you asked for his
gyms.
blessing to leave. That's you leaving. Who gave you a brown belt?
Shaolin gave me my brown and black.
That's switching.
Then
that's
he's
switching
your
instructor.
instructor.
But here's the thing: Yanni never stopped being involved with my jiu-jitsu, whether it was learning, coaching, whatever.
Part of being
Yanni was still always a part of it.
okay. Nobody said he wasn't a part of, but you are giving all your extra knowledge, your roles, your energy to your academy where your instructor is. That's not a fault against you, but that's just the reality of it.
Yeah. I mean,
How often?
I guess you're right.
How often did you come back to visit Yanni's when you were still purple belt?
Not that often. It definitely got less and less throughout the years.
So I have a question. From your transition to up top and then to Shaolin, you said you were competing or you were training with much higher level people. Did you mesh
higher
well?
belt level.
Yes. Did you mesh well? Because we all know that Yanni's, his students are pretty high level. Did you mesh well your purple belt to the brown and black belts that you were training with?
I was pretty competitive with the brown and black belts.
So you feel like you were on the level. Like when you showed up as a 2-stripe purple, you felt like you were even already with the purple belts?
Even or maybe a little bit more advanced.
See that, Dave? You got to train with Yanni to get better.
I've been coming here on Fridays until life got in the way.
For some messed up reason, and I don't know how, but I kind of became an enforcer at Shaolin's gym.
Oh, you took the role, baby.
Somehow, I don't know how I got picked, but
The technique.
I mean, I was training like 2 to 3 times a day, man. And I did take a month off because I tore my meniscus at some point.
Oh.
Actually, I tore it training for Worlds, but I wasn't going to stop for just like a little bit of knee pain when I would bend it. But then when I came back, I took a month off, but I was still showing up to class every day. I just wasn't rolling. I don't know if you guys know who Van is, but Van was like one of the big assistant instructors at Shaolin's and like one of the best competitors to come out of Shaolin's gym. Van had some stuff going on and he had to stop teaching at Shaolin's gym. So this was probably like July-ish. Shaolin asked me to kind of take over that role. And I became the guy that kind of started doing the intros for all the new people. I don't know if you've ever seen what a white belt class of Shaolin's looks like, but
No.
It's just a sea of white belts. It's just a mess of white belts. And off to this like one little side at his gym, there's always an assistant instructor taking people that are doing their first day trials. Almost every single white belt class, there's maybe like 4 to 6 people doing like their trial class. And that was my job. My job was when I wasn't training in my classes, I was doing the trial intro classes with the guys there. So that's what I did all summer. And then in September, at Shaolin's, they do belt tests. So in September, he told me that he wanted me to test for my brown belt in October.
All right, I never been a part of a belt test. I don't really know what goes into it. What goes into a belt test?
So at Shaolin's, it's kind of cool. I was never really like a fan of the idea. But you know, these big gyms get to a point where there are so many people and like you would be promoting a different person every single day if you did it on an individual basis. So a lot of people do ceremonies, and Shaolin's belt test isn't really a belt test as much as it is a ceremony. But for the lower belts, so like white to blue, blue to purple, they have to demonstrate techniques like in front of a group, and then it's really just like a gauntlet. The gym lines up, and 4 at a time will go in the middle, and for 45 minutes these people you run the gauntlet on them and just try to submit them or defeat them, or I mean they're dead too because they have to do like some physical stuff and techniques. So
This sounds like I would never ever get a blue belt, purple belt, brown belt.
I never saw somebody fail.
Do you mean more of like a Shark Tank where they're getting a new fresh partner?
Yeah, it's like exactly. And I mean, it's just the whole gym shows up for it. So there's no shortage of people trying to rip your head off.
So what did your brown belt test consist of?
The brown belt test was brutal. The first half, we just had to teach like a class. So you just pick technique that you want to teach. The second half of it, at the time, it's a little bit different now at Shaolin's, but back when I got my brown belt, the test consisted of 10 minutes in the gi with a fresh partner every minute, no break into 10 minutes no gi with a fresh partner every minute, no breaks with 5 minutes MMA.
MMA?
MMA.
You did MMA?
Every minute.
I
mean, I just used my jiu-jitsu to not get punched.
What?
But
How did you feel about that?
That's the other thing. It's the guy testing you can't throw punches. You have to use jiu-jitsu to protect yourself.
That's
While
interesting.
The other guys have full-blown gloves, MMA gear, and they're just trying to humiliate you.
So you just close your guard and get double overhooks and hold on for 5 minutes?
Exactly. Like basically my strategy was close the guard because you start in close guard, and my strategy was just try to close my guard, kick the guy away, and stand back up. But the problem was every time I did that, specifically with this one guy, Lou, he would just clip me in the face every time I tried to stand.
Oh,
This definitely sounds like nothing I ever want to participate in.
Yeah, it's tough, man. And then, you have like these high level black belts, and a lot of them are like former professional fighters and stuff, like beating the crap out of you. I liked it after the fact, but while it was happening, I remember just hating.
Now, did you get your Grandmaster Sensei's approval before you tested with someone else?
I spoke to Yanni before every single one of my belt promotions from Shaolin. I don't know that at that point I was so already just involved with the gym and I had kind of shifted over. I don't know that I was looking for permission from Yanni to get my belt because it was going to happen regardless. But I definitely consulted with him and asked him what he thought.
Now,
and I don't think Yanni ever thought that I wasn't ready for any of my belts. I could be wrong though.
Since there is a test, this is just a follow-up question. It's more like because of karate. Karate, they have tests, but the big thing behind the tests in karate is the test fee. Was there a test fee?
At Shaolin's, there's a test fee for the lower belts. For brown belt, I don't remember there being.
What was the test fee for the lower belts? Do you know?
I don't remember.
Dave, who cares?
I'm curious of this. I wanted to see if they're copying the karate model, trying to rake in more money. I was curious.
He's trying to bring shame upon your instructor. Dennis.
I'm not
Don't
trying
let
to
him do
bring
this to
any
you.
shame. This is curiosity. I haven't participated
You can tell
in a belt
Dave
test.
to shut his face any
and
moment.
I'm curious.
Like I said, I don't know. Maybe it was $50.
50. That sounds unreasonable. Continue.
It's more of a because they have to open the school to do these things usually on a Saturday. It was and pay staff to be there.
I was not
wasn't-
critical.
like, nobody
I was
making
just
money.
curious.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. No, I understand.
Now-
I'm just saying it wasn't a money making thing. I don't think it.
This was in 2014?
This was 2014. Yeah. So I got my brown belt in October of 2014.
So you got your purple belt from Yanni in 2014, and you got your brown belt from Shaolin in 2014.
No, we got our purple belts in 2012.
Right. Yeah. So it was like a little under 2 years that I went from purple to brown.
All right, so what was brown
And-
belt life like? Were you doing more training or more teaching?
So at that point, I basically transitioned to full-time teaching. Shaolin asked me to work for him. I was a full-time paid employee under Shaolin.
Fantastic.
And that's kind of when I realized, like, I think teaching is what I want to do. I was 29 at the time. I was, starting to get past the curve of where, the apex competitor is going to be at. So I was thinking definitely more teaching was going to be my route there.
Were you still working
was-
full time, or were you just working at Shaolin's?
Yeah, it was grueling, man. So at this point, since I'm teaching, I'm not, I had to be kind of more focused on the students. So I had to figure out times to train for myself. So I would wake up at 6 a.m. I would take the bus into the city, take a morning class, go to work. I still had my IT job, so I had to go to work. And then at night, I would come and teach basically the entire night.
So how was your physical shape? Were you in the same shape the whole time at brown belt?
For the most part, I mean, I wasn't super lean and shredded like I was when I was competing or getting ready for Worlds, but my weight didn't really change that much because I was still training a lot. But I wasn't really focused on like my diet. I didn't really care because I was training so much. So I wouldn't say that I was heavier, but I wasn't as in shape.
All right, so how long were you brown belt for?
So I was a brown belt from 2014, and then in 2016, just before I moved from New York City to Washington, D.C., Shaolin gave me my black.
Well, now, so you and Ed both got your purple belts together. You both got your brown
Our blue
belts,
belts and our purple belts.
and you both got your brown belts in the same year.
No,
No.
I got my brown belt in 2016.
2016. And that's when Dennis got his black belt. So you should have gotten your black belt in 2018, Ed.
2018?
Yeah,
I didn't.
I noticed. Just rubbing that in.
It is shocking that Ed is not a black belt.
It's shocking? What is it shocking?
You've been training a long time, man.
Yeah, but come on.
Yeah, but he's a despicable human being.
Yanni's not going to give me a belt if I don't deserve it.
And he's not going to give him a belt at this weight.
I agree. I don't think he should give you a belt until you're committed.
Dennis, are you
But-
embarrassed for me?
I'm sad for you, Ed. I'm sad for you.
I think we need to focus on Ed really getting into this lapel guard and maybe taking his game to the next level and earning himself that black belt.
Or just committing to not disappearing for months at a time.
That's not going to happen. So we're going to have to go in the other direction.
Dennis, I think the first step in my commitment is to embarrass Dave beyond all belief so that he leaves his current instructor and takes full time under Yanni so he can become a better training partner for me.
Listen,
What
I
happens
love
if you
to
lose?
train with Yanni. I love getting all my instruction from Yanni. Yanni, unfortunately, cannot sign off on me competing in the IBJJF. Therefore, I will never be able to train full-time under Yanni. Yanni, who is it that you compete under in the IBJJF, just for the record?
Mario Hayes.
Thank you.
Well, one tournament. The other ones were under Henzo, but
Well, Dennis just has a
have to
very
get a
important
fine.
question that you kind of glaze right over. What happens if Dave won? I would probably give my belts back and stop training.
And Yanni, you wouldn't have to give it back. Yanni would take it away.
I would throw it against the wall and say, "You're my worst student."
But did you hear
So
what
Dave,
Yanni
how
plans?
are you preparing for Ed exactly?
Well, right now I'm just eating, but soon I'm going to start training camp.
6 weeks.
6 weeks with Yanni, and he's going to prepare me. But I have to do morning sessions and multiple night sessions in order to get ready.
Which he has a full-time job and he has no time to actually do that, so he won't win.
That's why I have my one cheater move that I can send you a video of later if you'd like to see it.
I would love to see it.
This is another reason why.
Because we know what Ed's going to do.
What am I going to do? Tell Dave what's going
You're
to
going
happen.
to close guard, you're going to try to sweep, and you're going to try to pass.
When have I ever closed my guard?
Ed is going to pretend like he's going to
In the
pull
gi?
guard, but he's not. He's going to try and take me down. He's going to stall on top.
Is that your thought? You didn't even finish your thought.
That was it. Stalling. Everything with you ends in stalling. Dennis, tell me I'm wrong.
I think this is why you need IBJJF rules, and I think this is why you need advantages.
But it's only a 5-minute match, so he can't get DQ'd for all his stalling.
It's only 5 minutes.
A Masters.
Masters.
You can get
Oh, that's weak.
it should be a 20-minute match.
No, 20-minute
Can't
match.
be a 20-minute match. He'll die before the 20 minutes is over. And we call that a
You
submission
should be
then.
fighting for this. The longer the match, the more in favor it goes.
Yeah,
for you.
Dave, you
That's right,
loser.
because I'm just going to circle. I'm going to put my arms out, and I'm going to circle for 8 minutes until he's tired, and then I'll engage.
Do you guys think that when everybody comes back to training, everyone's just going to suck?
Not me,
I've been
because
wondering what's going to happen.
I always take breaks, so I'm going to be exactly the same as when I left.
That's 100%
I'm
true.
wondering if everybody's going to be at the same
No,
bad level.
no, because
Like
there are
everybody's timing is going to be off.
there are a lot of people that I know that are still training. I've been invited to multiple secret training sessions, especially once word of this super fight got out.
That is a perfect excuse to not have to roll with those people. They weren't obeying the social distancing rules.
Cheaters.
You know they're going to be in shape. You know they're going to beat up on you. So when they ask you to roll, you say, no thanks.
I've gained 25 pounds in this layoff. So it's going to be hard for me to come back. Ed is thriving.
So you're
right
catching
now.
up to Ed?
Yeah, he's 213. I'm 202.
Oh my god.
Yanni, you didn't feel it today while we were doing the YouTube video? That's what I meant with the
didn't.
pressure. Not real pressure. I don't apply real pressure. It was just fat.
Didn't realize you're over 200.
202.
Actually, I listened to the podcast with George today, and he seems to think that Ed is going to lose because of his weight. But don't we all kind of agree that weight is a significant advantage?
I think George,
For Ed, yes.
George has a much closer relationship with Dave for longer. He trained Dave, gave him his blue belt. I think he's underestimating how
Heavy.
awesome I am.
Heavy. You meant to say heavy.
No.
Listen.
That's weird. Didn't you beat all of his students?
No, I actually lost to Sunshine in the finals, 3-2. But
Oh, that was a great tournament.
Listen, Ed, if there's anyone that can thrive at heavyweight, it's Ed. If there's anything he does good, it's be fat and squeeze.
But here's the thing. Ed skinny is as strong as Ed is fat.
that's what I'm trying to tell Dave. He thinks I'm going
Hang
to
on
lose
a
all my
second.
strength when I lose my weight.
You're not going to lose your weight. You just heard Dennis say you haven't been in shape since 2010. It's
didn't think of it like that,
2020. That's 10 years. You've known me for how many years? 2014? 6 years you've been threatening to lose weight. You haven't done it.
New year, new me.
Okay, it's the Chinese New Year right now. Let's start.
Is that an empty?
2020 doesn't
Are you
count,
saying
though.
it's an empty
So
threat when he threatens to lose weight?
Yes, it's an empty threat. That's right. 2020
This year
doesn't
doesn't count. So 2021 is Ed's year.
That's
That's
gonna
what
be
he
my year.
said.
I've been telling him.
We all said 2020 is going to be our year until March, and then we decided, all right, we're going to postpone this.
Yeah, no, this year doesn't count.
I'm gonna pay you to come up here.
I mean, I'll come up. It's just my job is a just revolving door of uncertainty at all times.
Just quit. What do you need a job for? Come on up here. You can move into up top. You can live on the mats.
You know, that was my choice before when I got my black belt and left New York. My choice was to come work for the government in DC or work full time for Shaolin.
Why'd
It
you
was
pick?
offering me a full time position there.
So why'd you pick?
Yeah, you made the wrong choice.
Did I though? Like,
Yes,
I'd be out of a job right now.
that's fine. You could get another one at some point.
Yes,
So
Rent.
you ultimately picked the government job just for stability.
100%.
Yeah.
But you were how old?
I was 30.
You should have taken the job for a little while. I think it would have been good life experience and very
but I had
excellent-
already been working there for 2 years.
yeah, Dave, come on,
I
pay attention.
started
not
working full
full-time?
time for him. Yeah, I started working full time for him when I got my brown belt.
So
So what was different from the offer that he was giving you now?
I was leaving my IT job, and there would have been some different things.
he needs health insurance,
A salary rather than
a pension.
I was already getting health insurance and stuff like that. Like Shaolin treats his employees really, really well. Like
So
it's a serious business.
I'm not seeing why you skipped him. Then you should have just took him.
You should have, in my opinion,
just because of the stability of the job that I.
but you were young enough. You
It
could
was a
have,
very, very tough decision to make.
See,
Very.
I would recommend this to anyone listening right now, all right? I'm not an old man, but I'm older. And I would recommend anyone that has an opportunity to do something like this at a young age to definitely jump on it. You will have many years that you can go back and reevaluate and just get another job. Definitely, if you are given an opportunity, something like this or the equivalent, it's something that I recommend people do.
Dennis, hold on, Dennis. Don't answer him.
Mm-hmm.
Don't answer him.
It wasn't another question.
No, it's not. It's not a question. I'm gonna push back on Dave's point here. Dennis is going for stability, and the earlier you can get this stability early in life, later in life you're gonna be thanking yourself. So I think Dennis ultimately made the right, safe decision, and Dave should shut his face.
Yeah, I can't say that I agree with you, Dave.
Idiot.
Listen,
I can't say I agree with you.
oh my God.
For example, just like something like this, right? Like I still have a stable job. I'm not saying like people shouldn't work at their jiu-jitsu gym. If that's their ultimate goal, if that's what they want in life, that's you do you. But there's a lot of uncertainties. If you're not a school owner, you kind of have to weigh how much and how long you can do jiu-jitsu versus you can still do jiu-jitsu and work a job. I did them both full time. There was a point when I was working for Shaolin, I would wake up, teach the morning class, go to my IT job, and then teach at night. I was working like 14 to 16 hour days.
It's a grind too, though. That's not completely sustainable.
It took a toll on me,
Yeah.
for sure.
Do
But-
you enjoy your job? Do you like the hours that you're at work?
I like my job a lot.
Okay. You're lucky. then.
I'm lucky that the profession that I went into was also a hobby before.
So
I
Dennis,
started doing
let's go to you're a black belt, right? What is your future? What's your future now? Like, how does your outlook look for jiu-jitsu for the rest of your life?
So I don't know. I can't answer that because I've definitely had these like peaks and valleys with jiu-jitsu after I got my black. So obviously now I left. So 2016, I got a job working for the government in DC. I moved to DC. I have to find a gym, and I bounce around a little bit in DC, and I can't. I do find a gym, but I'm not really like invested, connected. To me, it's just I'm going in there to get a sweat, work on my jiu-jitsu a little bit.
Do you think it would be different if you were a brown belt right now instead of a black belt?
No. I think the difference is the people that you connect with when you're
right. So you're just not making that connection. That's a big point that people sometimes don't realize. I mean, me and you were so lucky to have started with Yanni. I mean, basically, I was a white belt when I was with Yanni, and we kind of built that community together. And it's kind of tough to recreate in other places. And you got lucky to have another chance with Shaolin. Seemed like you had a good connection with the guys there.
Yeah. So Alex Eklund from over there is like one of my closest friends now. So I kind of he became like, even though he's a lot smaller than me, he became like my main training partner. And, just besides training, being around Alex, talking with Alex, it makes being there just more pleasant. As opposed to when you show up to a gym, you put your gi on, you train, these guys are trying to kill you, you're trying to kill them. And then you pack up and you go home.
Well, that's kind of why I asked the question about brown belt, just because when you're wearing a black belt, especially in an unfamiliar place, you really have a target on you. For some people that have big egos and stuff and they want to test themselves and they see that black, cloth around your waist, and that means a lot to them.
Yeah, I think brown belt was worse, to be honest.
Really? Why? How so?
I think you get a lot more respect when you walk in as a black belt. When you're a brown belt, I think people see you as like this person that's just about to get their black belt, that's just about to be the pinnacle. And I feel like people try a little bit harder against, or have a little bit more to prove against brown belts.
What about
especially other brown belts, because they're so close to the black belt? I was guilty of it too, man. Any visiting brown belt that came into Shaolin's, even if I wasn't training at the time, like when it would be time to roll, I would like sneak onto the mat and try to get a roll in with this guy just to try to prove myself,
What about losers like me and Dave who've had our brown belts for too many years and we're not even have the black belt on the horizon?
I do. Speak for yourself. You're the only loser in this room.
What? I'm sorry. What's the question there?
There wasn't a question. He's just trying to call me a loser, but he's the loser.
All right, stop giving everything away. Yes, I just wanted to call you a loser.
So is that what this match is about? Are you guys trying to prove that?
No, you know what?
We don't even know where this came from.
Hold on.
Loser leaves town match.
Yeah, kind of. No,
the winner gets a black belt. Oh, that would be great.
I would lose on purpose.
We're gonna hang it from the ceiling.
No, one of the things, Dennis, is Dave. He's gonna get his black belt within a year or so.
But that had nothing to do with the
Guaranteed.
challenge. You challenged
Hold
me.
on, shut up. Can you let me talk?
No, I can't let you talk because what you say doesn't make sense. Go ahead.
Listen,
Sorry.
Dave's going to get his black belt within a year or two. He's on the mats every day. He's teaching his students. His students are getting better. That's a big part of being a black belt is contributing to the community, I feel, in my opinion. Me, personally, I have no black belt in sight because I am a loser and I keep taking breaks, and Yanni is not going to reward somebody for being a loser. Now,
Correct.
Dave wants me to train harder so I can earn my black belt so that I'm not on his mats with a brown belt destroying him when he has his black belt.
That has nothing to do with it.
It does.
Does not. Somebody that's
Ed,
somebody
why
that's
not
heavier
just
than
start
me.
Teaching consistently.
I have been. Ask Dave.
He does. He
That'll
helps out
make you
a lot.
Stay on the mat.
But guess what, Dennis? When I teach, I could sit, not break a sweat, and I can just talk. That's super easy for me. It doesn't incentivize me to get in shape. So now, did you see my match I had with Ben a couple years ago?
No, I heard about it then.
Yeah, it was pretty embarrassing. I would say for me personally, just because I was just so fat and out of shape, and it was not a very fun match to watch. But it did motivate me to train a little bit harder, and I do want to prove to Yanni that I deserve it. So yes, I want to start competing, and I think competing against Dave is super, low bar. It's an easy match for me. It's just kind of like a, just to fluff my record up a little bit. Some guys need to warm a fight, and then I could start to slowly climb up the ladder. What do you think about that?
Listen to what he had to do, though. He had to call out somebody that's 10 years older than him and at least 10 pounds lighter than him. He won't call anybody out on the same level as him. He needs to attack the older, weaker, lighter.
That should be irrelevant.
Yeah, but
if we're even,
we're
if
not
our
even.
technique
Our
is
technique
even,
is
which
not even
most
close to
likely
even.
it is,
Dennis,
then his weight
Hold
and
on.
age.
Brown belts.
Can we stop? Can we stop? We're not. Our brown belts are not all brown belts are created equal. You know that for a fact. He did not get his brown belt from Yanni. So let me just ask Yanni, point blank, who has the better technical skills? Take weight out of it. Take cardio out of it. Just technical skills. I just need Yanni to say Dave or Ed. Yanni, go.
I already talked
no.
about it.
You
in
just
your
got-
Wait.
podcast.
He
Why are we-
rephrased the
I
question.
rephrased the
now,
question.
Yanni.
It's only technical basis.
He rephrased the question, Yanni. I'm interested
This
in
is
this
a
answer.
bad place. This is
Go
like
ahead, H.
This is
Let's
like
hear it.
two kids asking their parents who's the better
I
child.
We need to know.
know.
We need to know.
I love you both equally.
That's not true either. That's not
That's
true either.
definitely not true. Nobody believes that. You've been raising
Listen.
Ed since he was prepubescent.
Exactly.
Since he was a teenager.
Just
See, and
tell him.
now he won't answer
He's
because
not answering. Yanni, you have to answer. You want to sit here and do this
he
podcast
knows
with
it's
us?
your weight. That's
No,
why.
he doesn't. Yanni, who is technically better, Dave or Ed?
Well, you guys have.
No. That's not what I asked you. It's
It's
a Dave,
Dave
or
or
Ed
Ed.
question. You have to
Remember, that
pick
was
one.
Dave
We're not
or Ed.
even. You know we're not even.
Before I make any statement here, I do want to say that you can be better at one thing and another person can be better at another thing. So it's hard
Me
to
and
just,
Dave play a very similar game, Yanni. Very
Yeah.
similar.
No,
yes.
I think so.
You-
Come on.
No, yeah, thank you.
What?
What are you
All
talking
you do is
about?
butterfly sweeps.
That is not all
and
that I
You
do.
do like knee cut passes. Big deal. What else do you
Dave's
do?
better
This
at
is
leg
what I
locks.
think. I think you guys should let the match
Dave's better at
speak
leg
for
locks.
itself.
All right, I'm better
You
at
shouldn't
90%
let
of
one
moves.
person decide.
Why ignore
I think
50% of the
match
human body?
should decide.
That's what I'm saying, Dennis. This is another reason for the move because Dave's going to keep talking out of his ass about his technique.
Whoa, you,
I don't know what you're laughing at.
So what is the scheduled date for this?
The scheduled date is we don't want to break rules.
2021.
No, it's not 2021.
Okay, it's 2021.
No, it's not. It's not. I don't want to break the Corona rules. So once Corona's over, I'll give Dave. It's really based on Corona. So once the Corona's over, I'll give him a certain amount of time, maybe a month, to get himself in whatever kind of shape he wants, learn from whoever he's got to learn from, and that's when it's going to be.
I want to make sure I'm there for this.
Oh, you're going to be. I'm going to really try to
I'll
accommodate
take
you.
vacation time. I will make sure I have nothing going on.
Dave is requiring
Cancel.
a antibodies test from you, Ed.
He's going to try to ask me for a steroids test too.
yeah, absolutely. But listen, this is going to be held at the podcast sponsors gym.
Come on, we're not doing sponsors right now.
I just wanted him to know, so he's going to have to travel even further.
Yanni will drive me. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, he will. He will. All right, you're the best, Dennis. I love you, and I definitely want to train with you as soon as possible. I'll do anything it takes for you to come up here.
I will. We'll make it happen, man. For sure.
Dave, you got anything to say to Dennis?
Thank you for
Yeah,
siding
guys.
with me.
A lot of fun, man. I took no side in this.
You did. You took mine.
No, you took
and I
sides.
appreciate it. And Yanni said I'm more technical. Just remember
definitely
that.
I
did
did
it.
not say that.
What the heck, H?
I said
Answer
you
the
were better-
question.
I said you were better at leg locks.
That's the only thing. The only legs, not any
Answer
other guard.
the question.
He can't.
There's probably other things you're
Yeah,
better at.
that's
man.
right.
He can't even think
There
of them.
definitely is.
All right, that's it. Until next time. All right, there you have it. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. It was our first one, doing it through the web, and I hope the audio is okay for you guys.
The audio was great, Ed. Thank you, Yanni, for hooking that up for us. I'm glad to see that we have yet another person siding with me.
In which way?
What do you mean? He said that I'm better. I'm going to beat you. He doesn't see you winning the match.
He said he didn't care who won. He thinks it's funny that we're even doing it.
No, he definitely thinks I'm going to win, and he thinks you're a despicable human being, and he also agrees with Yanni that you should never have a black belt.
So if he agrees with you so much, he could be a ref? Look at your stupid face. Yeah, exactly.
Locked up. Just totally locked up. No. Oh, Emmett says he wants to be a ref.
Damn it.
And Ron. We have Emmett and Ron. We have the two other refs.
Can Emmett even tie his own shoes?
Are you serious right now? Emmett is really coming after you in a couple of years. Just wait. Make sure to email us to thedeathpodcast@gmail.com. You can also message us on all of our social media, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter @ToTheDeathPodcast.
Dennis also has a Twitch channel for those who watch video games on the internet. It is twitch.tv/odennis. That's twitch.tv/odennis. And big thanks to our sponsor, Core BJJ. NJ.com. I'll never get it.
Holy God. This guy's never going to get it. Simple sponsor. You want paying sponsors, you have to be able to say their name properly.
right.
Core BJJ NJ on all social media or corebjjnj.com. Thank you, Rob, because your music will be back up again someday.
Also, we love the feedback. You could send it on any of our social medias to the Death Podcast.
or email to the
You
death
already said the
podcast
email. They
at
got the
gmail.com.
email. All right, all
I'm
right.
emphasizing.
Sure. That's great.
So, Rob, I'm going to do all I can to get your music back on this podcast. People, please, there will be a poll. Make sure you vote. Whose music is better?
What was that? Say that
Dennis
again?
or Rob? That's when you put a couple of words together, it makes a word that doesn't really exist. That's what I did there. You should try it. It's fun.
We've been getting great feedback still. We're 6 episodes in. Everything's been great. We've been gaining momentum. We have guests lined up for the next couple weeks. You guys are really going to enjoy it. Dave, what do you say about the guests?
I can't believe some of the guests that we have lined up. I'm very excited to be doing the upcoming interviews.
So stay tuned every Monday. Remember, this is To the Death Podcast.
Episode 6.